Honorable President, dear colleagues, dear friends of ICDS, thank you all for coming. Please be seated. We will start the program with a small musical introduction. I am very happy to welcome pianist Havryil Sydoryk, who will play for us some Estonian and some Ukrainian music. Please. We have the pianist.
piece was Biblikas. It is a butterfly in English, so it is by Estonian composer Heino Eller. And the second piece was my own piece that is named The Dance of Freedom.
Vabariigi president, härra president, ambassadors, colleagues, friends. An independent state needs to have several institutions and symbols to be truly independent. A trustworthy think tank is one among them. I really believe in that. Because we live in an era where we have lots of information, sometimes too much information, but we lack meaning. And if we are not giving this meaning to things or information, someone else is doing that. Because of that, I have a really great pleasure, honor, happiness. Really, I'm applauding. We have such a beloved think tank as ICDS, which turns 20. Long live. Congratulations to us all. Thanks.
Thank you, Kaimo, once again. Welcome everyone also on my behalf. Vabariigi president, härra president, aitäh, et olete meiega. So, indeed, we are celebrating 20 years birthday of ICDS today. We are not far from the first office of ICDS, which was located at Toompea. I never actually managed to visit that office, but I've been told it was the coziest office one can imagine, small and intimate. Since then, we have moved from Toompea to Kadriorg. The office is bigger, perhaps shinier, certainly less home-like. But some things have not changed. Our core values and the preconditions of the work that we do at ICDS have remained the same during 20 years. ICDS is independent. We are independent in our thinking, and while we take orders from our supporters as to the topics that we study, we conduct our analysis and draw our own conclusions. And this was, by the way, the most important value that spontaneously emerged when we had our strategy day a couple of months ago with all the ICDS staff participating, independence. Second, ICDS is international. Currently, our staff includes representatives of 10 nationalities. And ICDS also has an international advisory board. It was first established 20 years ago when the ICDS was established. Then later it ceased being active, but today I'm proud to announce that we have reconvened the International Advisory Board, and I really hope and I'm convinced that this will help to increase the outreach and impact of ICDS beyond Estonia. And the third pillar is sufficient funding, and here I'm glad that the people who founded ICDS, many of them are here today, had this wisdom and clear understanding that for a think tank like ours to operate successfully in a small country, we need sustainable government funding, and this is what we have had for 20 years. Today, this means that approximately 2/3 of ICDS funding comes from government, and 1/3 we managed to fundraise ourselves from very diverse sources. And just like 20 years ago, ICDS today is one of the connections between Estonia and the international community. In our everyday work, we send and receive, create and distribute information and analysis about what is happening in the world and how it affects Estonia's security. And I believe today, independence of a think tank like ICDS is more important than ever before. We are going through a very messy, turbulent period in international politics where the very foundations of Estonia's foreign and security policy are shaking and partly eroding. And in such times there is more self-censorship in public talk about foreign policy than in more normal times. But as think tankers, we have more freedom than policymakers often do to speak out our minds and give a sober assessment of where we are and what lies ahead. Now, I'm particularly glad we have indeed with us today many people who established the ICDS, and I'd like to mention in particular President Toomas Hendrik Ilves, Ambassador Foreign Minister Havryil Sydoryk, Lauri Alman, Indrek Kannik, who is unfortunately not with us today, Madis Mikko, Riina Kaljurand, Riina Kionka, Lauri Lepik, the first director of ICDS, Kadri Liik, and I'm sorry if I forgot somebody else, but you were all present in the establishment of ICDS. Of course, we have also many people here who have, during the 20 years, worked at ICDS or with ICDS in various positions. So a big thank you to all of you for your engagement and for your support. Also thanks to our partners, our sponsors, and finally, of course, all the current and former staff. Let's continue doing our work together and do our small share of keeping Estonia on the world map and trying to provide a compass that takes us forward. And finally, I want to highlight, last but not least, that one of the key partners of ICDS has always been the President of Estonia, who is a patron of our flagship event, Lennart Meri Conference. So it is a real honor to have President Alar Karis with us today. Please, President, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Actually, I've got two versions of opening remarks, as we had an argument in my office whether I should speak in Estonian or in English. But talking to Kristi Raik, she told me that 1/3 of the office in ICDS is in English speakers. And there are so many friends and ambassadors and colleagues here, so that's settled, so it's going to be in English. Dear people of the ICDS, the security and foreign policy community, ladies and gentlemen, we have suddenly reached an important milestone. The International Center for Defense Studies turns 20. It feels like it was just yesterday that a few enthusiastic foreign policy experts opened the office on Tom Rüütli Street. In late 90s and early 2000s, several attempts had been made to establish such a specialized foreign policy and security agency. At last, in April 2006, there was a success when leading to the opening of the center and work could begin under the leadership of Kadri Liik. The decision by the Ministry of Defense to set up the center was not made lightly. First, they didn't have the courage, then there wasn't enough political will, and then there wasn't enough money. So it went round and round in circles until finally the cycle was broken and things got done. Kudos to those who carried the torch and finalized the process. So I list them once again. President Toomas Hendrik Ilves, Havryil Sydoryk, two Riinas, Kionka and Kaljurand, Lauri Alman, Lauri Lepik, Indrek Kannik, Madis Mikko. Kuidas indeed. We should not forget and must also thank the defense ministers at the time, Jaak Jõerüüt and Jürgen Ligi, who got everything sorted in the government. Today, the Centre has been 2 decades of intensive and effective research and analysis, a lot of activity and work. It is hard to imagine our foreign and security policy without this Centre today. Of course, the government takes care of policy, but the more it is considered and thought through, the better it is. And with politicians and officials alone, the outcome is certainly not as good and credible without being backed up by work and research done outside the cabinet. This gap we faced after gaining independence has been effectively filled by the Centre since its creation. When foreign and security policy are discussed in Estonia, it is highlighted that it should be harmonized and ideally cross-party policy. Our strength comes from avoiding excessive conflict. But this is the end result of a process which must be preceded by debates, discussions, reflections, and if necessary, jokingly putting up a light fight. The Centre has provided a very good platform for all this, gradually building its visibility and credibility, as well as honing its outputs. The Centre has also made it easier to achieve, maintain, and restore coherence and consistency between our foreign, defence, and security policies. Everyone in this room is familiar with the Centre's analysis and papers, and I am sure you have found a lot of useful in them. Without the Centre's expertise and know-how, our public debates or analysis of situations would be much more profane. And now we are in a situation that not a week, maybe not even a day, goes without someone from the Centre commenting in the media or press. The Centre has boosted our conference landscape. The Lennart Meri Conference, mentioned already, is widely known and brings together politicians, civil servants, and experts every year to discuss the security challenges of Europe at large, and the eastern coast of the Baltic Sea in particular. There is always a global touch, because we all know how security always has a wider context than a single country or region. The LMC is a value in its own right. It has grown over time, and we can confidently claim that it is one of the most comprehensive and well-organized security conferences in the region. Several other thematic conferences have grown out of LMC, and each year they influence our debates. The ABCD, or Annual Baltic Conference on Defence, the Enlargement Conference, and the Tallinn Digital Summit are proof of this. What else is there but to keep moving forward, keep your mind fresh, let people not only mutually confirm agreed open facts, but also debate with each other. Speaking of conferences, I must touch on another important element, which although not born at the Centre, but has been led and guided to the Centre for over a decade. This is the Estonian National Defence Course, which brings together a cross-section of society twice a year in Rosta Holiday Village to share knowledge on national defence. There have been over 50 courses by now, and I have heard nothing but praise from participants and speakers alike. It is not just one specific course, but rather a network of courses, as the Cyber Defence courses, KÜDI, and the National Defence Study and Training Day for Entrepreneurs are held under the same label. The National Defence Conference has its own value, allowing an alumni community that has already grown to more than 2,000 members to keep returning to the subject. I hope people, but also Centre, will continue to be active in this field for years to come. And finally, I would like to thank all of you for what you have done, for the effort you have put in, and for the concern you have shown. First of all, those who have guided and led the Centre, Kati Liik, Martin Hurt, Jüri Luik, Sven Sakov, Indrek Kannik and Kristi Raik. Thank you. And of course, many thanks to all others who have worked at the Centre or who are now putting their minds to good use here. Now, 20 years later, the chambers are brighter, the world cleaner, and there are more people involved. If only it were like this everywhere in Estonia. Thank you all. I wish you free spirit and success in your efforts. Keep up the good luck. Thank you very much for your attention.